So I've been looking over America's astrological birth chart, and I've been looking at specifically Pluto in Aquarius and our south node in Aquarius. To translate for you, we're looking at what America's really good at on the earth, and sometimes can maybe get a little bit stuck with. The south node is about the things that we are naturally just brilliant at. They're just naturally really easy for us. However, if we spend too much time there, it can be a little bit more difficult. And usually the south node asks us to clear out contracts or clear out old energy. There is the sense of clearing if we stay in that space for a while. The north node has to do with our way high up in the sky. Things are different. This is my purpose. I'm going and I don't really know why, but I just know I need to go. For us in America, that's in Leo. We're going to talk about that a little bit further on, but just to give you the reference of the back and the forth of the south node and the north node, they're much more complicated than that, but on a very simple level. Now, because America has a south node in Aquarius, we're really good at society stuff. Cliques, groups, formations of peoples. We have a super intricate, very layered system of government. I think that says a lot about us too. South node in Aquarius. Aquarius doesn't just have to do with society, it also has to do with structure. And I mean by layered, like there's very local and then there's very federal layers of what we're working with as a, government institution. So structure, institution, let's say institution. I think that might be more applicable. Now, part of Pluto being in Aquarius, interacting specifically with America's chart and the way that things are moving right now, we are sort of setting the groundwork for the next several hundreds of years of generations, which is crazy to think about. It's like 200-ish years of generations and what they're going to have to deal with, what they're going to look back on and be like, whoa, they did that back then. That's what we're doing right now for the next about 16 to 18 years while Pluto moves through Aquarius. Crazy, okay? That's wild to think about. Now, because the south node, we have the south node in Aquarius in America, we have the ability to think really far in the future, move society in that direction. And one of the other things to note about our chart as an American, Saturn, which is the god of time, it has to do with order, structure, restriction, for us is in Libra. Now, why is that important? Saturn is one of the rulers of Aquarius. Uranus, is the other one, and for us that's in Gemini. We are going to go through a Uranus return in Gemini, my goodness, in the coming several years as Uranus transits through Gemini. We'll talk about that probably more another time, but let's focus back on Saturn for a second. Saturn being in Libra in all the charts that I've read is a kick your behind placement, okay? Anyone that has, on a personal level, any person I've ever read for that has Saturn connected to their Venus, connected to their Libra space, specifically, those crossover. It could be Libra in the 10th house, okay? It could be Saturn in the 7th house. Literally any sort of crossover of Saturn and Libra, you're gonna get what's owed to you and you're gonna get it full on. Thing about justice, because that's very Libra oriented, okay? One of the things about justice, there's a lot of justice, a lot of things about justice, but one of them that Spirit has kind of brought into my realms of attention recently that I wanted to bring up for this video specifically. A lot of the times for the scales to be balanced, if there is on a practitioner level, okay, let's talk about it like that. If there's someone who has done wrong to you, then if it's justified, which can be very layered as a question because you have to look at how your ancestors relate. What about other life experiences that led up to that moment? Justice isn't always just about that time, that place, that circumstance, that situation. It's not something that is isolated and what's the word? Non-reproductive? Golly, what is that word? Sterile, okay? Justice isn't a sterile thing. It's something that is like very all-encompassing of many different time frames in many different places in many different circumstances. So the fact that Saturn in Libra is something that America has, a couple different things about that, okay? One of them, anything, and again, remembering that Saturn rules over Aquarius, which has to do with our societies, American societies, okay? Anything that the institutions, occupation, okay, government, structures would enforce upon the people justifiably. Now that is a big question, like we just said, very nuanced, very all-encompassing, so really within reverence to justice, gratitude, reverence, and love to you, justice, to think about it, it is for a circumstance or a situation and what is going on in the world right now, so there's that too, and we're going to move on. Anything that those institutions, government, structures, right, would impose upon the people then have the power to impose that back upon the structure. Oh, you bound me up in this? You decided as an institution this was going to be justified? Okay, yeah. Well, let me think about that for a second. Let me get really detailed. It's Saturn. Let me get really, really detailed about it. Let me understand some things about these different situations, circumstances. How do ancestrally I connect to this nation? What work have I done with my ancestors? That's a whole different circumstance, space. Let it really sink in. When you have these questions, especially as a practitioner, if you're planning to do any kind of work, okay, really think about it. Really think about it. Because the more you think about it, the more it's going to make sense. The more justice can be served, articulate, elevated. Love your elevation. So it is, okay? This technically also means that what America imposes on other nations can also be imposed back on us, but we're going to leave that for another time. Let's keep it inside the bubble for a second. We have a lot going on to begin with, okay? Ooh, there's a lot of other conversations when we start to talk about outside of America, and we're just going to leave it at that for now. Okay. The other important thing to note about this specific ring of information when it comes to America's astrological placements, and we're going to get back to Pluto and Aquarius after we go through this next bit of information. Saturn being in Libra in our chart as Americans means that Venus rules our Saturn. Venus in our chart is in Cancer, which is ruled by the moon, which is in Aquarius. Yeah. So how we feel and what we say, because Uranus is the other ruler of Aquarius, which is Gemini. It's us sharing information. How we feel and how we talk about it, that creates a web of justice. So keep talking about what's going on. Keep feeling your feelings about what's going on. That will continue to spark a continuation, how many times am I going to say continue, but a continuation of action where now the structures, the institutions, the occupation, that stuff has to then make change. You feel through it, you talk about it. That in itself, with the chart that we have as Americans, is magic. It's magic enough. You feel it, you talk about it, you heal it. Emotional justice also, that's a lot. I also want to, with Pluto and Aquarius, so let's go back to that now. Pluto in Aquarius returns the power to, instead of the institution and the hierarchy, which is Pluto is in Capricorn in our chart as America. So naturally the power of those contracts, exchanges, finances is going to be within the structures and the hierarchy. Instead of that power being there, it returns it to the people. Okay, question mark. What are we going to do with it? Not only does it return it to the people, we have to remember the South Node and the Moon are both in Aquarius in our chart as Americans. So we have the ability as society. Oh, look, we got a little friend saying, hey. The cat is in a really playful mood today, so thanks for the moment of pause while he came to visit. Going back to the Moon and the South Node in Aquarius in America's chart though. Naturally, okay, as American people, we have the Moon and we have really easy Earth energy available to us to get some work done. If you're a practitioner who's working with the Moon to deconstruct some things and help rebuild some energies on a structural level, you're doing great, okay? Good job. I think for this one, there's a lot more, and for this one, I think I'm gonna just let it be for now. Remember that your words are very powerful, especially when they are connected to your heart. Continue to use that power. Continue to work with that power and continue to give gratitude, reverence, and love to the indigenous spirits of this land where the occupation of the institution stands. Okay. Because nobody is illegal on stolen land. How many times are we gonna say? More than enough. That's how many. So gratitude, reverence, and love to you. Keep up the brew that you do. I for sure will too. Thanks for being here with me. And I'll talk to you soon. Also true.